Okay, how does it feel to be here at the Oklahoma City Horror Con, meeting all these beautiful people?
Well, it feels awesome. I love Oklahoma. I actually spent all my childhood summers in Ardmore. So my grandmother lived out in the country there between Ardmore and Dixon. So it's always great to be back in Oklahoma, and I love Oklahoma and the people that live here. So yes, I'm happy to be here.
Only been here a day and a half, but judging by the people that have come to my table, everyone is super sweet and really, really fans of all the movies, especially Halloween. So wherever we go, it's just lovely to see that no matter what state we're in, no matter what city or town, the people just love Halloween. So happy to be here, and you all are just the nicest people. You're polite, your kids are sweet, and that's the other thing. You bring your kids with you, and they've seen our movie too. So, and some of them are very little. But now that I know Uncle Nasty, I can see why. And that was it.
That's it. Did you get the roles you auditioned for, or did you originally audition for a different role in the movie?
For Halloween, you mean? No, I auditioned for Linda with John Carpenter. It's very unusual to audition with a director. Usually you have to go through the process of meeting the casting director and doing a reading with him or her. But I actually met with the director, and he told me right there on the spot, which is another unusual thing, that I got the part if I wanted it. And I said, of course I want it. And then he asked me to stay and to choose somebody to be my boyfriend. And there were 3 guys outside, and I read with each of them. And so John Michael Graham always thanks me for choosing him so he could be Bob.
They didn't really tell me who I was being interviewed for. They just had me read a number of different lines. They had me scream. And then I got a call a couple days later and said I had been cast as Judith Myers.
It's not the way you said, Michael! Because you said it really great.
Could have been.
Yeah, I think
awesome. This message, a question is for Sandy. Halloween was such a different type of role for you, coming from movies like Gas Pump Girls and those kind of feel-good, sometimes beachy, dancey movies. What was the dynamic like? Because you did kind of go in a little bit blind, although, I mean, very specific lines that you did outside of the regular actors. But what was the dynamic like going from movies like Gas Pump Girls to Michael Myers, mentally and physically being very dark, and a dark set as well? So just curious about that.
Yeah, it was very different. Of course, the comedies I was in were very lighthearted on set. A lot of people fooling around and just having a good time, laughing and practicing their lines and crazy stuff. Halloween was a very busy set. They were fixing up the old Myers house to make it look newer, because mine was actually the last scene, but it's supposed to be the younger house. So it was busy. It was a little more serious than the other sets were. And of course, it has a big shift from the lighthearted, kind of fun, flirty stuff downstairs to the much more serious, dark atmosphere upstairs. So it had a big switch in it, which the other films did not.
This is for PJ. PJ, are you still upset that you didn't get your beer?
Well, Uncle Nasty's going to give me one, right? I am, and I love that, some people have brought me beers at the end of the convention. They're like, here, you're finally going to get your beer. So it's kind of a running gag, and I love that.
Good afternoon. I just had a question. My family and I, we have a tradition of watching Halloween every year during Halloween season, and just wanted to know, do you watch Halloween every year? Do you have anything?
That's a good question. When I'm invited on Halloween, I have watched on the big screen, which I find it to be really fun to revisit, such an older movie on the big screen. But it really holds up, and it's just as exciting and just as scary, especially on the big screen. But I don't have a tradition of watching it. But when my kids were growing up, I don't know, most of my movies I had done before I had kids, but now, and so my own kids, my son and my daughter, were not that interested or involved in anything with me in terms of movies, but my grandkids, and now I have 5 of them, they are all just crazy for me in being in the movies, and they can't wait to watch. But my oldest is 8, 7, 6, 3, and just born. So, but so far I've only shown them trailers from Rock and Roll High School, and nothing really from Halloween, although they've seen pictures, and they're just so curious, especially who's under the mask and who's that Joey Ramone guy, and did you really write the song Rock and Roll High School? So I just can't wait. They're going to be my best fans. My kids, not so much.
We are gone a lot of times at Halloween because cons like to have us there. So, but we do watch Halloween, and sometimes more than once a year. It is still one of my favorite films, and it still scares me, even though I've seen it many times. I still jump. So John Carpenter is amazing. So yes, we definitely watch the film, if not at Halloween, then other times during the year.
Easter, for instance.
Yes, Easter's good.
Not.
Makes sense.
We want to say thank you both for being here and for being in Halloween. It is actually a family tradition for us to watch the whole Halloween series through the month of October.
Wow.
And what I would like to ask, did you have fun and did you get to hang out with the crew after your scenes were shot, and did they provide you costumes, or did you have to bring your own?
Well, the hanging out was, since my scenes, I had a lot more than Sandy, so what I remember is we just went to work every day because you never knew when they were going to be finished with one scene and move on to the next. And when you're doing a low-budget picture, low cost and only a 21-day shooting schedule, I think, they probably figured might as well have them on set, as well as that we were charged with cleaning up the leaves after the outside takes because they had 3 bags of autumn leaves that were very expensive, and Deborah Hill was very insistent on us helping clean everything up so we could move on to the next show. But the feeling on set was lighthearted. It was fun. It was a very collaborative feeling I felt from with John and Deborah. They also made you feel that you were part of a team and not just, the actors are here and we are the crew and we're the director and the writer. They made you feel like it was one big family. And in terms of the costume, I think in most of my movies, it was always my own clothes. So everything that I wore on Halloween were my clothes. Those platform shoes were not mine. I bought them for the show, and I did not smoke. So cigarette pack and shoes were for Linda.
It's funny. Of course, I was just on set for one day, and I don't think Jamie Lee was there, and I'm not sure who else because nobody was famous then. So they were just other people. But I do remember, like I said, it was a busy set and all of those things. But yeah, it was really fun. It was a serious set, and it was definitely scary. Upstairs was a very scary part of it all. So I didn't hang out a lot, just one day, but I definitely enjoyed working with John and Deborah and doing a horror film instead of a comedy, so it was another, opportunity for me. So yeah, it was a great day.
Your clothes?
Oh, yes, my clothes. Thank you.
Yeah. And your hairbrush.
Yes.
No, was it your hairbrush? It is now.
Yes. It was funny because whenever I learned that later on, as a reminder, they said, well, you know, everybody wore their own clothes. So I was looking at those clothes going, you know, I really don't remember those clothes. And I happened to mention that the first time I met Nancy Loomis at a con, and she says, well, you don't remember them because they were my clothes.
Oh my God.
So I wore her clothes that day.
Okay, this question is for PJ. Of course, you're a part of 2 major horror films that actually transcend the genre, and I want to ask, what similarities are there taking direction between John Carpenter and Brian De Palma, and also what differences would it be taking direction between those 2?
Carrie was my first film, so I had been in New York and did modeling, and I was on a soap opera, Love is a Many Splendored thing. I'd done a lot of commercials, but I hadn't been on a real movie set, so I didn't know what to expect from Brian. And he was an excellent director, but wasn't the kind of director like John, who spoke with you in a hushed tone and talked about your character and the thoughts that you had for ad-libbing or, inviting you to do anything that you thought would enhance your role. I think Brian was more of a technical director, but I think I spoke to somebody today that asked a similar question. And I think that since we had 3 auditions for Brian, he cast it very well so that he could trust his cast and he wouldn't have to worry about that part of it, and then he could concentrate on the look of the scenes and, do his, his magic with the lighting. And he was always talking to the DP, the director of photography, but not so much the actors. But I think it's only because he had an innate sense that we were going to provide for him what he was hoping and expecting to see, and he didn't have to worry about that. So I wouldn't say that I couldn't judge it as being cold, but afterwards I learned that he was more of a standoffish director in terms of, palling around or discussing the scenes with his actors. Whereas John, like I said before, and Deborah both made you feel that it was a collaborative effort, and so I felt more of a free spirit, even though I ad-libbed every line in Carrie, because the only line that was written was "Thanks a lot, Carrie," when she blew the volleyball shot in the opening scene, or past the credits of the shower scene. And I was only on for a week, but because I had whacked Sissy over the head with my hat, and I had pins on the hat, and it got stuck in her hair. And true to my character of Nasty Norma, I ripped the hat, and the pin ripped out part of her hair. And afterwards, I was like, "Oh my God, Sissy, I'm so sorry." She goes, "Oh no, that's great. That's so your character. You'll see." And then in the dailies, they showed it, and it's like that. And she winces, and his hair is attached to this pin, and Brian is howling in the back, and John Travolta thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. And then Brian called my agent and said, I want to put PJ on for the rest of the shoot, and she's going to be best friends with Nancy Allen's character, and she's going to do her, she's going to be her best friend, and she'll do her bidding. So that's actually how that all came together. I was really only hired for 1 week. So anyway, good question.
My question is, did you all know whenever you were filming Halloween that it was different from the movies of the time, and that it was so special?
No, I didn't really even think of it as being in a horror genre. I just like John Carpenter. I like that he hired me on the spot. I had done Carrie already. I was excited about the character, and I thought it was just a fun little story, little movie. In those days, as a young actress, I didn't think about box office, or, I just was really hoping to get something good on screen, some scenes that I could then present to my next audition and get another role. So, but I didn't, it wasn't in my mind then to think. So it's amazing what has become of it, and I'm very proud.
I think the one thing that got my attention that day was the camera. The Panaglide camera was new, and I've always been kind of a techie. I just like technological things. And so I just remember them talking about the camera and how it was new and how it just, could glide and do these long shots. And I was fascinated with that. And I'm happy that I got to be in one of those long shots. And since then, I've heard a lot of people that have gone to film school and stuff say that they use that sequence in the beginning as training in the school, because that was one of the early scenes with it, and they did such a great job that they use it as history, as a history lesson. So I thought that was interesting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. Carrie was always my favorite. I did a book report in high school. So for me, John Travolta will always be my crush. I love him. So I guess for me to you, because you're probably as close as I could ever be to John Travolta, what was it like working with him and, just everything?
What was your question?
Oh, sorry. What was it like working with him and just, with Carrie, was it just I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess a totally different aspect from Halloween, like how, sorry, I don't know what I'm saying here. What was it like with Carrie?
Yeah. And John was really a great guy. In fact, I did my screen test with him. We all had to test for this on screen. In fact, we had never met Sissy Spacek. We had met 3 times with all the kids that ended up being in the movie, and we all read different parts, and we sat around a coffee table, and we just looked at the script, and Brian was just trying to get some ideas, I guess. And then you cut to the screen test day, and we're all there, and then in comes Sissy, who was married to Jack Fisk, who was the production designer. And we knew Jack, but I guess afterwards we learned that Jack had really begged Brian, please let my wife at least test, let her screen test, and of course she knocked it out of the park. But so having screen tested with John, and I was screen testing for the part that Nancy Allen got, Chris Hargensen, because like I said, there was no Norma role, really. It wasn't even in the Stephen King book. There's no Norma. Even though Stephen King is a big fan of Rock and Roll High School. He wears Ramones t-shirts. Anyway.
I just adore him. I just was wondering what
when I would study with him, he was just really nice, and he had a very childish, playful attitude, and he'd just, I think Welcome Back, Kotter had already been on the air for maybe a couple of seasons, but he wasn't, conceited. He was just very playful and childlike, and he was fun to skip around. He's a very cool guy.
So I was wondering, how does it feel to be both victims of the very first original Michael Myers movie, and you being his first victim? How'd that feel?
Being his first victim, with how the whole thing is played out, it's turned out that it's pretty awesome, because not only was I his first victim, but I was the only victim killed by the young Michael Myers. So that's kind of cool. I enjoy that. So yeah, I'm happy that you killed me, Michael.
Oh my God. Some little brother.
Yeah, right.
Boy, why was he so mad at you?
I know. Who knows?
You were so innocent.
I know.
And I guess I got the grown-up Michael, but and that was fun too.
My question is, how often are you asked to say the word Michael and you totally per convention?
A lot. Yes. Michael!
Totally.
Hello, beautiful ladies. I was just wondering how old you guys were at the time of the movie, and what did your parents think? Because they were some racy scene. Just what did your family think about that?
Well, let's see. I was 27.
Oh, you're old enough.
So I was old, yes, but still, when I did Carrie, there's that opening credits with the shower scene, and I was like, oh, give me a towel. I am not. They were like, walk out there, be naked. I'm like, oh, no. My parents are going to see this movie. So, but by the time Halloween came along, I was like, all right, I'm old enough.
I think I was 21, right in there somewhere. And my mother was a fan of anything and everything I did. She was just my number one fan originally. My husband is now my number one fan, but at the time she was. My dad never knew. He passed away, unfortunately, but he's the one that actually introduced me to horror films. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, your mother did see?
My mother, yeah, my mother did, yes.
Thank you. And she spanked you? No.
No, she was my big fan. I could do whatever. She was okay.
I have a question for you.
Me?
Yes. On the scene where all three of the girls are walking home, how many times do you think you said totally in that scene?
Somebody said that I say totally only 11 times in the whole movie. I don't think that could be true. Well, I've never counted. Some people say 23. So, and some college kids told me you're too young, but they take a shot every time I say totally, and they've never seen the end of the movie.
I know what that is.
What to believe. But in just that scene, I would say maybe 6. I did say a lot of totally. I think he's totally cute.
It's actually a question on a horror trivia game.
It is?
Yeah. How many times? Yeah, it's actually a question.
What is there an answer?
Out of the 2 Halloween timelines, from the original series and then from the recent trilogy, which is your preference on is Laurie's his sister, or when she was just, years later, the recent trilogy that came out, which one's your preference?
Well, the original is my preference. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's my team. Halloween 1.
Yes.
In fact, they didn't have a 1 when I did it. It's just Halloween.
It's just Halloween. You? Yeah, it was just Halloween. That was definitely the storyline. She wasn't a sister.
Don't get complicated. And don't go all Rob Zombie on me either.
Yeah.
Even though I did Devil's Rejects and I love them. Come on.
Guys, we got time. They've got time for at least probably 5 more questions. If you guys got some questions, we've got them for about 15
or
more
Uncle
minutes.
Nasty will rap for us.
Hey.
Someone ask questions, please.
Oh, I knew it.
I guess you just kind of mentioned it. How do you feel about the Rob Zombie remakes? Because I honestly kind of thought that they missed the mark, telling too much of his backstory. I feel like he's much scarier, just a boogeyman.
Well, I like the first one, sort of, but then I didn't.
Too weird.
I didn't. I don't know. I don't think I even could finish the first one. But since I wasn't involved in it, it was hard to like. But I like Dake Fairch. I think he was cool. But I love the Devil's Rejects.
Yes.
Right?
Hello, ladies. My question is, how did it feel back then being most young men's first introduction to the female anatomy? And then my second question is for PJ. Do you ever tell the guys you're dating now to go get me a beer?
Well, I don't drink, and I've been with Rob, my boyfriend, for 27 years, so. But I say, go get me iced tea. Let's see. Well, back then as a young actress, I wasn't thinking of the effect. Like I said, I was really only hoping that I was going to get another part. And when I was making Halloween, I was married to Dennis Quaid, so I got some good guys.
Thank you.
Turned out not to be a good guy, but that's another story. At the time, it seemed okay.
We all fell for that one. My mama included.
So, funnily on that note, I was wondering, what are some of the most interesting, scary, whatever interactions with fans that you've had since you've done these movies?
Gosh, there have been just so many, and they're mostly delightful. I think the hardest thing for me to understand and realize is, how people get very nervous to meet me. I feel like I'm a really nice person, and I'm a mom, and I'm a nana, so I feel like I'm just a regular old lady at this point. And so everybody that comes to my table and they seem like they're a little nervous or they're shy or they're looking down, they're like way younger than I am. I'm like, come on, give me a hug. It's just so that's the sweetest thing to me, because I don't know, I feel like I'm just one of you.
I was at a convention, a Haunters convention in Mesquite, Texas, and I was, in addition to doing signings, I was there to have a cast made of my head for a decapitation scene. And I hadn't done
another
that
day at the office.
Yes, another day at the office. So I'm sitting there, and they're, wrapping my head and putting straws up my nose and all this stuff, and I just kept thinking, I hope there's not a fire. I don't want there to be a fire, okay? Because I can't see anything, I can't hear. And I remember hearing this little guy in the audience, well, not in the audience, but it was kind of after hours, but I could hear somebody out there saying that he had gone down the aisle that Sandy Johnson was in, and he was too nervous to go say hi to her. He kept walking by and couldn't quite do it. So what was funny is he didn't know that was me there. He thought it was a mannequin because I was sitting very still because they were working on me. And then somebody says, by the way, that is Sandy Johnson there under all of that. And so it was pretty funny. He was very sweet and very cute, and he did get to meet me once they cut it all off and everything. But I thought that was so funny because I'm listening to this whole story, and I was sitting right there, and he thought he was watching a mannequin get all this stuff wrapped on his head.
Uh-oh, fire.
If you're claustrophobic, don't do that, by the way.
That sounds horrible.
Everybody form a single file line and grab the belt buckle in front of you.
Hey, ladies. I'm a massive Halloween franchise fan. I've got a room dedicated in my house to this movie, for which my wife loves me for it. But I was just curious, what was the great Donald Pleasance like behind the scenes? What was it like working with him?
Well, I didn't have any scenes with him. I don't think you did either. But
No,
he was very quiet and very nice, and really just having my personal experience is sitting there having lunch with him, and he really didn't say anything. And John Carpenter, I asked him, I said, it's okay that, we talked to him? He goes, yeah. And I said, he seems like a little sullen or, sad or something. He goes, no, he's just trying to stay in character. That's how, the British actors work. They like to stay in character. So I thought, all right, well, we'll just leave him alone. But we were really very close to him, but he's just eating his sandwich and probably observing us and thinking we're just silly girls, He had a daughter, though. She's the one that told him to do the movie. So, but it would have been wonderful. Now that I'm older, obviously,
absolutely.
I would have gotten his autograph.
Absolutely.
Sandy, what was the best film production and you've had the most fun on? Like, what was your favorite? And PJ, what was your line in The Devil's Reject with Sid? Was that improvised?
I've got important that when I said, "What's that about clown business?"
What's that about clown?
No, that was all scripted. That was See Anything You Like was my line, though.
Shame on you.
Well, there you go. But John said, do whatever you feel comfortable with. If you want to show a little nudity, a lot of nudity, whatever you want to do. I don't want to. Wasn't written.
My favorite movie was Gas Pump Girls. In that one, I just had the best time. The ladies that I worked with were amazing. Kirsten Baker from Friday the 13th was the lead in it. And we were just running this gas station for her sick uncle and competing with the high-end gas station across the street. So we were using girls to get the guys over to her uncle's gas station. So we danced on the set. We had music blaring. It was just a ton of fun. So as far as just outright fun goes, it was definitely Gas Pump Girls.
My question is, do you guys ever go back to Pasadena now that they have the Myers house there? Do you guys ever go revisit that place, or any memories going going back there in the past or anything like that?
Well, I did the Horrors Hallowed Grounds with Sean Clark. He has a little video of that. And he took me and my daughter at the time. She was only 13, I think, maybe 12. And but besides that, we did go to Pasadena last year for the 45th anniversary convention. It was spectacular, and they had buses running all day long to revisit and tour all those locations. But personally, no, I've never sat on that stoop with a pumpkin or walked up my lawn in my thick clogs.
And I have not been, the times that I've been to Pasadena, we've been very busy, so we didn't get a chance. But I have been to the Myers House, North Carolina, a couple of times, and actually spent the night in Judith's bedroom. I have signed her windowsill, and it is an awesome place. If you've never been there, it's really fun. He has a big screen in the backyard, and he shows Halloween and a lot of other things. But it's the outside of the house is an exact replica of the original. The inside is different, but it's a beautiful house. He's a lot of fun, and he has great events, and it's just called Myers House, North Carolina.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Anybody got one last question? Dude, you've been thinking, like, you've been wanting to ask a question. Do you see him over here?
And where's Chris Reinhardt? Chris, are you even here? I thought you were going to come to my panel. I don't hear you or see you or smell you. No, just kidding. Anyway. And this guy here, come on. After him, you're next.
I just wanted to know, what was it like to work with Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween?
Well, that was, I thought it was her first movie. I think she did something before that. She lied to me. But anyway, she was 19 and I was way older. But she was bubbly and joyful and very excited and very scared and nervous. She, like, I think you probably all heard that she thought John Carpenter called her up the second day, I guess, and she thought, oh no, he's going to fire me, but instead he was just telling her what a wonderful job she was doing. I think she was perfect for Laurie, but she kept saying to me she wanted to switch parts because she liked my character better, and I went, I don't want your part, you're boring. But she was really a very joyful and fun girl, easy to be with.
I didn't actually work with her, but she was on set that day. And actually, when they were scrubbing the blood off of me between our takes, whoever was doing it was kind of rough, and she offered to help. And she was much gentler and kinder about it. So luckily, we only had 2 takes, and I was grateful for that. I made sure I did a really good job because it was painful in between. But yeah, she was very nice.
Now, this is going to be on X. Sandy Johnson's boobs were scrubbed by Jamie Lee Curtis. Hello!
That's going to be the caption of this video. What do you mean?
She will probably deny that.
What happened at Horror Con, Oklahoma
Please, sweet
City.
Lord Jesus, let me get 1 million views.
Still has the sponges.
Guys, before you ask this question, we're going to do the same thing as last time, okay? Y'all bunch together, Lexi's going to run up here, and we're going to snatch a photo with everybody up here, you know, with y'all in the background.
With all that?
With all of them.
That's always fun.
So maybe because you just answered a little bit of the question, you only had a couple scene or takes, but was there any like bloopers or funny parts that happened during your parts that you guys just stuck out from the rest, or you just guys were cracking up and having a good time during your filming of the movies? So.
Well, yes, when I was getting strangled, that was the hardest part. Because
to not laugh?
Nick Castle was my Michael Myers, and that phone cord, I guess he never killed anybody before, so. and he wasn't an actor, so 3 takes. I wish that John Carpenter could find those scenes, but he was just rubbing it and tickling me, and I was like... It was ridiculous. 3 times. Finally, on the 4th, I said, just do it a little harder. I'm an actress, but I can't pretend when you're tickling me. So finally, he just did it a little harder enough. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it, because I also that was going to be the last scene they were filming with me, and then everybody claps and goes, yay, that's a wrap on PJ. So I was kind of holding that off. So I knew that, I wanted to milk it as much as I could. But in any event, I wish that, I always forget when I see John to ask him if it's somewhere on the, he must have it in a can somewhere. So I'd love to see it, though, because I'm really just laughing. And Nick and I talk about it all the time. And he's like, I just didn't want to hurt you.
I don't remember anything particularly funny or weird. I just remember when I was upstairs that, of course, it was a real house. It was an old house, and the stairs did creak. And I can just remember sitting up there alone, waiting to get murdered, and I could hear them coming up the stairs to murder me. And I just remember sitting there going, oh my God, this is really creepy. So that was my memory of being scared, sitting there kind of in the dark waiting for them, and I could hear them coming.